I worked the front desk at a Sydney backpacker hostel for 3 years. The American couple checked in on a Tuesday, wheeling matching luggage sets. The wife looked at our lobby and asked where the concierge was. I told her I was handling check-in. She blinked twice. No, the actual concierge. For restaurant reservations. I explained, we don't do that here. She turned to her husband. See? I told you Australia was underdeveloped. They asked about the breakfast buffet. I pointed to our kitchen with free bread and spreads. The husband frowned. So we make our own breakfast. What are we paying for? I reminded him the rate was $32 per night. Most people tell these stories to mock tourists. I tell them to map the psychology underneath. How expectation collides with culture. If that kind of decoding is your thing, subscribing isn't support, it's access. He nodded slowly, like this explained the poor service. His wife asked if we had a business center. I showed her the shared computer in the corner. One computer? For the whole hotel? I told her it's a hostel. She wrote something in her phone. Later I saw their review. Hostel advertises itself as accommodation, but provides minimal amenities. False advertising. Another American asked me where the nearest Outback Steakhouse was. When I said we don't have those here, he looked genuinely confused. That summer taught me something. Americans arrive in Australia expecting either a tropical paradise or a desert wasteland. Reality breaks their brains. A woman from Texas walked into our Melbourne pharmacy holding her prescription bottle. She set it on the counter and said, "I need this refilled." Our pharmacist explained she'd need an Australian prescription. The woman shook her head. "This is a prescription from my doctor." He clarified that her American prescription wasn't valid here. She pulled out her phone and showed him her doctor's website. "See? He's a licensed physician. Harvard Medical School." The pharmacist stayed patient. "I understand, but he's not registered in Australia." She demanded to speak with someone senior. Our head pharmacist came out and repeated the same information. The woman grew frustrated. "This is insane. It's the same medicine. The pills are identical." She was right about that, but wrong about everything else. This kind of confusion isn't random. It's cultural patterning. I track it full-time so you don't have to. Most creators react to the funny part. I dissect why it happens. If that difference matters to you, you already know what to do. When told she'd need to visit a local doctor, she asked how long that would take. We estimated 2 to 3 days for an appointment. Her face went pale. "Days? I'll run out tomorrow." She asked if we could call her American doctor to verify. We explained international calls aren't how prescriptions work. She left threatening to contact the American embassy about our refusing her medication. The pharmacist just sighed and helped the next customer. I drove an Uber in Brisbane when an American family got in my car. The teenage daughter was reading her phone. She looked up suddenly. "Dad, Australia uses dollars too?" Her father nodded. "Yeah, but they're not real dollars. Like Monopoly money." I bit my tongue. The mother asked how much Australian dollars were worth. I told her the exchange rate was about 65 US cents per Aussie dollar. She did mental math. "So everything costs more here?" I explained things are just priced differently. She wasn't satisfied. "But why would they make their dollar worth less?" "That seems backwards." The daughter asked if Australian money worked in vending machines. I confirmed it did, in Australian vending machines. She nodded like this was a reasonable question. The father wanted to know if American quarters would work, since they were basically the same size. I told him no, different currency systems don't mix. He seemed disappointed. When we arrived at their hotel, he tried tipping me in US bills. I politely declined. He looked offended. "You don't want American money?" I explained I literally couldn't spend it without going to a currency exchange. He put the bills back slowly, like I was making a huge mistake. His wife whispered something about how friendly Australians were supposed to be. A man approached my counter at Perth Airport Information. He needed directions to his hotel in Sydney. I asked if he meant Sydney. He insisted it was pronounced Sydney, because that's an American name. I pulled up a map and showed him the spelling. Sydney. He squinted at it. That's a weird way to spell Sydney. I explained it's always been spelled that way. He disagreed. The city was probably named after someone called Sydney, and they just spelled it different here. I didn't have the energy to explain. He asked how far it was. I told him Sydney was a 4-hour flight from Perth. His jaw dropped. 4 hours? But we're in Australia. I confirmed we were in Australia, which is roughly the size of the continental United States. He pulled out his phone and zoomed into a map. This can't be right. I thought Australia was small. I asked what gave him that impression. He said it looked small on world maps. I explained map projections distort size. He wasn't convinced. So you're telling me I can't just drive to Sydney? I told him it would take 41 hours of non-stop driving. He stared at me. That's longer than Texas. I agreed. He rebooked his flights, looking defeated, muttering about misleading tourism websites. I managed a beach resort in Cairns when an American couple complained about our pool temperature. The husband said it was too cold. I checked the heater. It was set to 28 Celsius. He asked what that meant in real degrees. I converted it. 82 Fahrenheit. He crossed his arms. See, that's way too cold. We need at least 90. I explained that 90 would be 32 Celsius, which is extremely hot for a pool. His wife backed him up. In Florida, our pool is always 95. It's comfortable. I tried explaining that water at that temperature breeds bacteria. The husband cut me off. We've had our pool for 12 years. Never had a problem. I mentioned different climates, different standards. He wasn't interested. Just turn up the heat. We're paying for this room. I showed him our temperature guidelines from the health department. He barely glanced at them. Those are Australian rules. We're American citizens. I clarified that Australian rules apply in Australia. His wife suggested we keep the pool cold for others, but heat one section for them. I explained our heating system doesn't work that way. They left a review saying our amenities were substandard for international guests. A woman called our Sydney tour company about our Blue Mountains trip. She wanted to know if we provided bear safety training. I told her Australia has no bears. She paused. What about black bears? I repeated, no bears at all. She sounded skeptical. Really? No bears in the whole country? I confirmed this. She asked about mountain lions. Also, no. Wolves? Nope. She was quiet for a moment. Then what's dangerous there? I mentioned snakes and spiders. She laughed. Snakes? I thought we were going to the mountains, not the jungle. I explained that snakes live in mountains too. She wanted to know what kind. I listed a few venomous species. Her tone changed. Wait, venomous? Like poisonous? I clarified the difference between venom and poison. She wasn't interested in semantics. Are they aggressive? I explained most snakes avoid humans. She asked what happens if someone gets bitten. I outlined our first aid protocols and hospital access. She inhaled sharply. Hospital? For a snake bite? I told her snake bites are serious. She decided she needed to think about it. She called back an hour later asking if we offered a snake-free tour option. I told her we couldn't guarantee wildlife behavior. She booked a harbor cruise instead. My brother works at a Darwin wildlife park. An American tourist asked him where the kangaroo enclosure was. He pointed to the open habitat area. The man looked around. But where's the fence? My brother explained our kangaroos roam freely in designated zones. The tourist stepped backward. They just walk around near people? My brother confirmed this, adding that kangaroos are generally calm. The man asked if they attack. My brother said only if provoked or cornered. The tourist wanted specifics. Define provoked. My brother explained, chasing them, getting too close, threatening their young. The man nodded along, then asked if the park provided protection equipment. My brother was confused. Like what? The tourist suggested pepper spray or tranquilizer darts. My brother explained, we don't arm visitors to interact with wildlife. The man seemed shocked. So if a kangaroo charges me, I just run? My brother recommended staying still and calm instead. The tourist pulled out a selfie stick. "What if I use this to keep distance?" My brother advised against bringing any equipment near the animals. The man looked at his family. "Maybe we should do the aquarium instead." His son, maybe 8 years old, said, "Dad, they're just kangaroos." The man shook his head. "Son, nature is unpredictable." They left without entering. A man from California sat at our Adelaide cafe and ordered a flat white. When it arrived, he stared at it. "This is tiny." I confirmed it was a standard size. He asked where the rest of it was. I explained that's how flat whites are served. He looked betrayed. "In America, a small is like this big." He made a gesture indicating roughly 16 ounces. I told him he could order a large if he wanted more. He asked how big that was. I showed him 12 ounces. His eyes widened. "That's your large?" "That's a medium in the States." He ordered the large anyway. When it arrived, he took one sip and winced. "This is so strong. Do you have creamer?" I offered milk. He wanted flavored creamer, specifically French vanilla. We didn't carry that. He asked for sugar-free vanilla syrup. Also no. Caramel? Nope. He looked around our cafe like he'd been transported to another planet. "How do people drink coffee here?" I suggested trying it as is first. He took another sip and admitted it wasn't bad. Then he asked why Australian coffee tasted different from Starbucks. I explained our coffee culture developed differently, focused on espresso-based drinks with quality beans. He interrupted. "But Starbucks is Italian-style coffee." I didn't argue. He continued. "I just think if you're going to serve coffee, it should be consistent worldwide. Like McDonald's." I mentioned that McDonald's food actually varies by country too. He looked genuinely surprised. "Really? Huh." He finished his coffee in silence, then asked if we validated parking. We didn't have parking. He'd walked here. Some tourists arrive expecting Australia to be America with accents. Others think we're a developing nation somehow. Most fall between those extremes, just confused about why things work differently. The ones who adapt end up loving it here. The ones who don't write detailed complaints about our backwards systems and leave one-star reviews mentioning freedom. I unpack these cultural collisions every single week, not to ridicule, but to reveal the operating systems behind nations. If you like seeing the world decoded, subscribing isn't for me. It's for you. Next time, Americans try to explain American football to confused Australians. It goes exactly how you'd expect.